Yo, what up, guys? What up, Dynasty fans? Thanks for following us. Thanks for keeping in touch with us. Today it'll be special episode, again, one more time, episode 10 of our Dynasty Lifestyle Podcast. A one-on-one exclusive interview with the man, the legend, Lavell Shaolin Marshall, one and only one Shaolin on the entire planet Earth. You know, throwing people onto the earth, smashing people with the earth. World Shuai Jiao champion, for those who don't know. Shuai Jiao is Chinese wrestling. Not that well known over in the West. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to let him talk about it because he knows more about Shuai Jiao than anybody else does. But world champion, national champion, all around badass. Happy to have him here right in Toronto. Oh, by the way, he's teaching a seminar tomorrow along with another world champion in Sand Show. That's Chinese kickboxing, for those who don't know. It's like wrestling with takedowns and amazing spinning shit. Right? Amazing spinning strikes, right? That's Sabir Bagautinov, world champion as well, and Lavell Shaolin Marshall, world champion as well. Tomorrow, right here in Toronto at AST MMA in Scarborough. Check it out. It's 2 p.m. At 2 p.m. sharp. We're starting it. It's $40 at the door. All the proceeds go to the instructors. They don't go to me. They go to the instructors. So when you come and you show up, you get to learn their secret techniques, their secret tricks, their secret moves that nobody else freaking knows. Because, damn, not that many people train Chinese wrestling. Not that many people train, Sanda. You know what I'm saying? So you're getting some secret stuff. And it's $40 at the door, and all proceeds go towards them. So let's get right to it, because we're on a limited time. We're on a limited time. So first of all, who is Lavell Marshall? Where are you coming from? How'd you start martial arts? We're gonna hand it over to him.
Alright, what's up, guys? I've never done this live thing, so you about to learn today. I'm Lavell Marshall, obviously. Really, man, I started martial arts when I was like 3. I did Tang Sudo, I did a little bit of wrestling, I did Taekwondo for like 6 years. And then when I moved to America, it's in Germany, I started Hung Gar Kung Fu, which is Tiger Crane Kung Fu, and then dabbled with all types of Kung Fu styles. And when I was 19, I started Shuai Jiao, and that's what I do now. I dabble with many different grappling arts, but I always, my base and what I really train is Shuai Jiao. A lot of people don't understand. You can play with other styles, but what is it that you really like? Your heart is in. What are you really training? What are you really trying to like explore and express?
So I'm assuming that you said you came over to the U.S. at around like a young age, like
13,
around 13, right? 13. You said you started training Shuai Jiao at like 19.
Yeah.
So you said. I'm assuming, because I interviewed a couple of different people before from the States, and they all had a fascination with Chinese martial arts, and they wanted to seek out the Chinese martial arts training. How come you also, were able to seek out the Chinese martial arts training as opposed to, let's say, something that was more, common in America, which is like, let's say, judo, for example.
Yeah.
Where was the difference there?
Are you referring to Chinese martial arts in general or Shuai Jiao?
How it kind of happened with you? How come you were able to find the Chinese martial arts and you were able to find Shuai Jiao?
I'll put it like this. When I was little, I remember the first movie I ever remember seeing. I'm pretty sure I was about 3 years old. Besides Power Rangers and what we all liked, Ninja Turtles, it was Shaolin versus Ninjas.
Okay.
And
is it like Shaw Brothers?
It's not Shaw Brothers. It's the same. It's like that old 70s movie. So I remember seeing that, and I was like, I don't know what that is, the Shaolin monk, But I said I'm gonna be that. Like I remember 3 years old, I want to be that right there, whatever that is, Kung Fu man. I don't know. And when I was that age, turning 4, I said I want to do Kung Fu, but we could not find it where I lived in Germany. So my parents knew an instructor that did Tang Sudo, and he took me in, and I kept doing Korean arts until I finally found, moving to America, I finally found the Kung Fu school. But I always was drawn to the culture and to, the movies, Bruce Lee, Jet Li, Gordon, all them. They kind of shaped an image in my head of what I wanted to be, and I went for it. So
yeah, I noticed like a large pattern with most people is that kung fu movies back in like 60s and 70s was like a strong wave coming through, and that influenced like a lot of people from that generation, and it's like a common pattern, right? So you happen to find Shuai Jiao. Tell us about Shuai Jiao and what style of Shuai Jiao you train in for the people that are uninitiated, who don't even know what it is. What is it exactly?
So Shuai Jiao is traditional Chinese wrestling. We wear a jacket that's a little different than what you normally see,
and it's old.
It's
like
old.
Thousands of years old.
So Chinese wrestling is about roughly 5,000 years old.
Right.
It kind of was developed. It was developed alongside Manchurian and Mongolian wrestling. So they all kind of grew together in the same region, really. So you'll see a lot of similarities. Now, the style that I do is called Baoding, right? So it's from the city Baoding, and it's nicknamed like fast throw because the characteristics for my particular style is direct, quick, ended. And I do combat. Now, within that, I do combat Shuai Jiao, which is striking and joint locks as well. So a lot of the other styles have kind of went towards sport, and they don't have any strikes.
Right.
So that's really when I started at 19, I didn't like grappling.
Yeah.
I was a striker.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, what is this? Chinese wrestling. I do kung fu, never heard of it.
Yeah.
And then I saw the effectiveness. I went to the school. I met my teacher, and didn't know who he was. He invited me. Come to my school. Learn how to really fight.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, whatever. So cocky. I was a little cocky.
Yeah.
So I went, and then I saw these big dudes just throwing each other, and I was like, that's a little intimidating. I was small back then, 140 pounds, and I was like, I'm gonna stick with my Hungar. So I was learning that from him as well. And then over time, I just kind of started doing it naturally and falling in love because there's nothing more empowering than being 100 and whatever pound man being able to throw anybody.
Right.
Like you can't say that with a lot of arts. Even with striking, it's like if someone's as good as you and they're 100 pounds heavier than you, you're gonna have some problems.
Yeah.
You can beat them, but in the sports setting, it's different.
Yeah.
And with Chinese wrestling, I don't care if you're a gorilla, you're gonna catch it. You know, if you got 4 arms, you're gonna catch it too. So
I want to chime in real quick and like Chinese kung fu people. I probably said this in like the past podcast episodes before and stuff like that, but I'll just say it again. The general population think that Chinese kung fu is just the flashy looking kicks and like the throat chops or whatever it is, or like the fancy moves that are nowadays they're looked down upon as like stuff that doesn't work and stuff like that. But that's the general population doesn't know that Chinese kung fu is just one general term. Kung fu just describes everything under that umbrella.
Chinese martial arts.
So it's like if I told you like, hey, I know medicine, but what kind of medicine? Like inside the world of medicine, there's so many different kinds of medicine. So it's like the word kung fu just means, in Chinese, it just means hard work. It just means martial arts. That's what it translates to. So that means all martial arts within the Chinese ecosystem, which is thousands and thousands of years old, and it has so many different styles. Thousands and thousands of styles based off of animals, based off of their environment, like we talked about in past episodes, where if you live in a different environment where, let's say, you have a lot of open space, then you're going to get a lot of movements that are going to take advantage of that space. People that do, jumping attacks, jumping kicks, whatever, that kind of thing, because they're trying to cut down that distance to try and get to their opponent, right? And then you have like these other kung fu systems which are more grappling based or more closer, more clinch based. Wing Chun being one of them, but there's so many other ones that
Honga as well,
right? Yeah. That are like more lower stance or they're more tight because they lived in areas that had tight alleyways or tight corridors or tight rooftops where they don't have.
And a lot of them were southern styles. They were fighting on boats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just different. Everywhere you're going to develop differently. And it bothers me. I get people all the time that's like, they think I'm joking when I say I do tiger style, whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, they look at Shuai Jiao like, oh, it's dope. It's like a grappling art. It's wrestling, whatever. and when I say, oh, I do, take a crane, they laugh.
Yeah.
Kind of like think it's a joke, but I'm like, no, I really do that. Just like I do Chinese wrestling. I might not advertise as much because I love Chinese wrestling is something you can do with anyone.
Yeah.
But like my home guard is good like my Shuai Jiao. And it's just as effective. It's just different. One thing about Shuai Jiao that draws people to it, like any grappling style, you can get right to the program right from the get go.
Yeah.
So first day of training, you're grabbing.
Yeah.
With a lot of kung fu, you're you're doing forms, and no one really sees the importance of that. And they're like, okay, I'm paying you to teach me that, but I can go down to BJJ and touch the first day.
Yeah.
So we do got to change the way that we teach traditional, teach kung fu.
Yeah.
But Shuai Jiao, all of it, it's all kung fu.
Yeah.
And it can all be effective if the teacher knows how to teach, if you know how to apply, and so forth.
Teacher, the way that they teach, right, their system, right, they could either be teaching you some phony kind of system, right, they added some crack to it, or they can be teaching you like the real combat stuff, like the lethal stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's about the student themselves, right, like just because, like, let's say, for example, me, I try to learn Shuai Jiao, let's say I suck at it. Let's say I'm bad at it. That doesn't mean Shuai Jiao itself doesn't work.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just because I'm weak and I couldn't make it work for me, right? Or maybe I didn't put enough time to study it, or I didn't have the patience. It's like, oh, I'm sitting in this stance for like 8 hours, and I got no patience, so I couldn't make it work. But I understand the modern aspect of it too. People live in the modern day, they don't got so much time.
Yeah.
They're just like, I want to get results, right? I want to learn how to like whatever freestyle wrestling. Like I want to take somebody down right away. I want to beat up that bully.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to learn how to armbar somebody in a week, that type of thing. And I get that. So, but just to chime in another time, this brings up what I remember. A UFC fighter or MMA fighter, Gilbert Melendez. One time he made a comment and like he quotes it. One time he's like, oh, I used to hear about like kung fu styles, like tiger style this, crane style this, and I didn't understand it. I didn't get it until like recently when I got to a certain level in my MMA training, and now I understand what they meant by like I gotta pull out my tiger style to beat your crane style and whatever, a snake to beat your whatever. Because in MMA it's the same thing. You got these guys with different MMA styles. You got guys that are boxer wrestlers. You got guys that are BJJ guys with not that much striking.
Yeah.
Then you got guys that are Muay Thai kickboxers with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And how are you gonna beat that? And then there's guys that are maybe point strikers like karate guys or kung fu guys or whatever. So it's like you gotta pull out a different style for a different situation in order to beat that guy with the other style. So that's kind of what it means to go back to the whole kung fu ecosystem. Because back in the day it was like, it was your school with your style, my school with my style, and I'm challenging you style for style. But even back then, it was still MMA because
it was MMA.
Other people traveled around and then they picked up other things.
MMA been around forever. Like now, it wasn't a sport, but it was a thing. We are always if you look at any Chinese martial art, it's mixed. All of it, even Shuai Jiao. My style of Shuai Jiao is mixed with Shaolin, Northern Shaolin, Xingyi. Mongolian wrestling, like it's all mixed. It's like even my teacher's school is called Combat Mixed Martial Art Fight School, and people always think we do MMA, what people consider wrestling, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, but it's like no, it's just two Chinese arts, but it's still mixed martial arts, right? So people get a little bit confused, man. And one thing we have to look at when it comes to kung fu is people don't train like they used to. In terms of back then, man, people coming to your village, they raping, robbing, killing. Yeah. You better train or you're gonna die. You know. Now we're like, I kind of do it twice a week for an hour. Yeah. No wonder you're gonna be garbage. Yeah. You know. So you look at the guys that do Shuai Jiao in China. They train every day for 6-8 hours, so they're beasts. Yeah. You put the work in. The guys that do jiu-jitsu, especially in New York, where I live, there's so many jiu-jitsu and so much good jiu-jitsu. Those guys live in the gym. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't have that same opportunity for Chinese wrestling here, so it is hard for there to be lots of good competitors. We don't have the opportunities, so, I'm making that happen, because I'm trying to be that guy, and I know I can be that guy, and I know that the art is good, and people just need to see how dope that shit really is. Yeah. So I try to put it out there. You see, I compete in all types of grappling styles, and, I do have a coach that trained Sambo Jiu-Jitsu fusion, Vlad Kolikov.
Right.
He is just a genius when it comes to really meshing styles together.
Right.
And so it's been helping me develop in other ways, but at the same time, I'm showing that Shuai Jiao works in all arenas, you know what I mean? Because that's what it's about, You got to prove sometimes to people. I get a lot of people that love me, some people talk a little shit. But most of the time it's just because whatever, but
No, we'll get into that. We'll get into that. We'll get into that. So let's address some of that a little bit. So let's say you got people who criticize you a little bit, or maybe they criticize Shuai Jiao, or maybe they question Shuai Jiao, or maybe they question how good is he really?
Yes.
How would you address that? So let's say, for example, one of those common things that people probably throw at you all the time is like, judo is better, or judo's more widespread, and your moves are just like judo moves. Like, how would you address that? Even though judo came after.
It's interesting, yeah. So sometimes it's frustrating because, like, when I was younger, I would be like wanting to go. Mm-hmm. I had no filter when I was younger. Let's go. I talk a lot of crap, but now it's just like I realized it's very important to just educate people. And even then, they're still gonna hate, but I also learned that people will always hate, no matter what you do and what you say and how much you prove. It used to be, I would win competitions, right? Yeah. Well, you would never win against judo. Okay, and then I won some judo competitions. Then I won South Carolina State Championship. Then it's, you'll lose against a BJJ. Okay, all right, so I started doing BJJ. Then they don't have.
Then it's like, you're competing in BJJ, but you're sandbagging because you're a Shuai Jiao guy, or you're a judo black belt. Are you a judo black belt?
But
you're a judo white belt, right?
That's an interesting story, but for real, they're always gonna have something to say. Lately, there's nothing else they can really say. So now it's like a look thing. You're a man bun, or you look gay, or your thing looks. And I'm like, okay, whatever. It doesn't bother me anymore because just people's gonna be people. Yeah. And but the good thing is I am spreading the art. People are starting to see it, and if they really question, they just need to question themselves, you know. Or I invite them to my gym. We can get it anytime. That's
seminar tomorrow. Anybody who wants to challenge him.
Any week, if you're in New York, just come holler at me. Like, I don't really care, but for real, I want to educate people, and I want to teach them what the art's really about, and
any differences.
There's so much, man, because
Shuai Jiao and judo.
Even with judo, like, judo's dope, man. Like, I love judo. I watch judo all the time, but it's a very sport version of.
Right.
To me, I'll say it like this. I was gonna write something about this. I'll write it in the future, but the main difference between judo and Chinese wrestling, even I'll say Beijing and Baoding style, is purpose and intentions. Mm-hmm. That trickles down many branches of many differences, okay? But the purpose and the intentions behind the movements are what make the style, right? So in Chinese wrestling, we don't go to the ground because the intentions and the purpose is to hurt or kill you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we don't want to risk sacrificing or going on the ground, or especially if there's numerous attackers. Mm-hmm. So our mind is different, so we play different. That means the balance is going to be different. The way the techniques are going to be slightly changed because we're not going to we're not going to really turn and roll with it, or really, again, sacrificing our own body or positions in order to get points.
And like throw them on their head, on their shoulder.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
So,
and that's how judo used to be until they started changing rules, trying to get into the Olympics.
There's many reasons. Yeah, of course, politics, whatever. But again, so that's the main difference, but from that, there's so much that stems from these little things that are not little. So it's all dope. I respect it all, but for real, Shuai Jiao came first. It came before many of these styles, and if you knew that, then you might be able to respect it a little bit more because you realize maybe most of what you do comes from it. Who knows? I wasn't there 5, 6, 7, 8,000 years ago, but style was.
Yeah.
Can't deny that.
And another thing is a lot of these, I'll just say like MMA fans or people that train MMA now, but then they don't really look into like historical context of where these martial arts came from. It's kind of like they pretty much are ignorant because then they look at combat sports and what it is today, and they look at MMA and what it is today. They kind of like don't actually make the connection. They're like, oh, the reason why these traditional martial arts, you know, the reason why they suck is because they haven't evolved, and then, you know, they haven't became MMA. But hold on a second though. Where did MMA come from though?
But here's my
Where
thing,
did these
though.
techniques come from though?
But here's my thing with that is, you know, I think a lot about like what is traditional, what is modern, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. It's all of it came from somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just updated versions that fit the times that's relevant to right now.
Right.
So it's all traditional and it's all modern. It depends on how you apply it now to yourself and to the environment you're in.
Right.
That's all it is. So, you know, because what is Muay Thai? Muay Thai is it's nothing new.
Right.
It's been around for a long
Right.
time.
People don't understand, like, oh, the striking that you guys see today, like the high level striking that you guys see today in combat sports. Well, that's just Muay Thai, and Muay Thai is like, you know, a traditional traditional Asian martial art, right? But then a lot of these sort of like these Asian martial arts, once they compare it to like these Western styles, so-called Western styles, you know, they kind of get a bad name because of how it's represented in the ring or the MMA ring or whatever. But really, if you think about it, Muay Thai is a traditional martial art, right? Because Muay Thai is Muay Boran, and then you're talking about karate and taekwondo and all of this stuff that contributed to the American kickboxing style that you see today. Hey, all of that is like Kempo karate, and like all of that is like karate, and then karate is Okinawan karate, and Okinawan karate is actually the Fujian crane style kung fu, which is the southern crane style kung fu, and then the southern crane style kung fu is like the Shaolin kung fu. So like, where did that all come from? So really, martial arts you see today, it had to come from somewhere.
Yes.
So basically, modern martial arts is traditional martial arts, right? The BJJ that you see today, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu you see today, is just the Japanese judo that was brought over that became BJJ, but before BJJ it was Japanese judo, but then before Japanese judo it was Japanese jiu-jitsu, but then before Japanese jiu-jitsu...
But it's evolving,
right.
But it is also traditional. It's an interesting, you know, thing when you think about it, but all martial arts is like that, but it's up to the person, because I know many Kung Fu guys, and they don't even understand this. They still train like 500 years ago. You know, they think they're about to fight, you know, the whole village using tiger claw, but it's not going to work out that way anymore. You have to know how to, for instance, most Kung Fu styles, they never seen jabs.
Yep.
So they get mollywopped by boxers.
Yep.
You know what I mean? An amateur, man, can train it. You can get a boxer train for 6 months. Be a master, you know?
Yep. And that's the sport aspect of it.
That's the sport aspect. But what I'm saying is that we have to learn how to fight against these. Like, again, even with Chinese wrestling, there are certain things, excuse me, that maybe I wasn't used to, like certain techniques in judo that are sacrifice throws when people were doing on me. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not ready for that. You know, I'm like, that was a little weird. Yeah. But I had to learn how to fight against that, because that's who I'm going to fight against.
Yeah.
So when I train, majority of the people I train with don't do Chinese wrestling. They do all the other styles. So that way I know how to apply it everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, fight a motherfucker that don't know anything. I promise you're gonna have a hard time, because they be the most dangerous ones. You know, if you ever wrestle someone, if you for real, I'm not talking about like a great wrestler. If you ever wrestle someone that's athletic but knows nothing, they might give you a harder time than someone that's good, because they're unorthodox. They're wild. They're crazy. They might poke your eye in accident. So
that's like that in every martial art.
Is there in every martial art?
Striking, jiu-jitsu, everything.
But it's like, but my thing is, be ready to apply it to any one of those people. Like I say, if a gorilla walk up to you, what you gonna do?
Yeah. Actually, that's another question that I'd like to ask you. I kind of already have my own answer to that, but I want to ask you, why do you think Chinese martial arts are seen as like, you know, inferior to, let's say, any other martial art, or most commonly seen and compared to with Japanese martial arts?
There's a lot of reasons, I think, but one I've been kind of thinking about is, okay, so when Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was being developed, or you know, when they started, you know, really testing it, what were they doing? They were going out and proving it, proving it, fighting anyone. then the sons and the grandsons, and now you got a million Gracies, and they still be proving it. You know, I think for a long time Kung Fu kind of got complacent. It's like we don't really have to prove. Everyone's afraid. And especially when it hit America at first, everybody wanted to do Kung Fu. It was like this mystical, and then we mystified it. Well, Chinese, you know, because they had to make money, they had to make sure people were a little bit, you know, not picking on them in a way, especially in the Chinatowns and stuff. But they stopped having to prove its effectiveness. So now you see these masters who never fought before, never even really sparred, and they want to fight MMA guys and they get beat up because they are living on some old legend stuff, you know what I mean? Like, no, you always have to be proving it, not just for the style, but for yourself, you know? So the Chinese really stopped having to prove, and that made them kind of weak when it comes to fighting. I mean, go to China nowadays, most of the people are about 98 pounds. The dudes are smaller than the girls, you know what I mean? The girls, they come into America, buddy, you know? Because they're like, this is crazy, so... It's just reality. It's true. So it's a little sad. And I always used to give excuses, but I started realizing that about a month ago, I'm like, man, you know what? We don't have to prove nothing anymore. Now we do. And we're caught off guard. We're like, oh shit. You know, it's not the same. Like, I thought this would work.
Yeah.
Sleep.
Yeah.
You know? So now again, I think there needs to be more of us, because there are some guys I know that can bang. They're good Kung Fu guys, but they're just low key, you know, they stick to themselves. I'm like, yo, there needs to be more of us to really go out there and keep proving, because that's going to earn the respect. And, you know, maybe hopefully one day we can grow like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Judo, you know what I mean?
Yeah, my kind of like take on that is like, I think also the culture is also different. Like, you have to understand, like, Chinese culture or Japanese culture or Korean culture or East Asian culture or Southeast Asian culture, and maybe mixed in with a little bit of historical context as well. The economy rolled into it as well. So it's partly culture, partly the economics of it. I think the lifestyle over in Asia, they don't take such big importance on sports. So you're gonna see a lot of dudes that are like 98 pounds, stuff like that, because it's not really encouraged from their youth to be like, hey, pursue sports. Hey, play sports.
Cultural revolution.
Yeah. Hey, like,
I love you, China, but y'all did that.
A lot of the culture is kind of like, well, study, because they need to get a good education. And why do they have to get a good education? Because they have to be able to get a good job. And the reason why they have to be able to get a good job is, well, from the historical perspective of it. Again, we did like a 3-hour episode on the whole China episode, so I'm not going to repeat that, but go check out the 3-hour China episode and you're going to understand the historical context of what happened over there and why they needed to focus on just money, just getting a job first, because they got colonized and they got, you know, ripped apart and they didn't have anything. So when you don't have anything, it's like, why am I focusing on, you know, bullshit like sports and like, you know, competing in like basically games, right? Because sports are man-made games. So they had to focus on food and money first. So, but that's a separate thing. But in terms of also the culture, you know, there's not a big importance on like, oh, you're gonna make it as a sports superstar or something like that. There's no such thing. But over in America, it's like encouraged. It's hey, go play basketball, son or daughter. Go wrestle in high school, son.
But isn't that why you know, look at why the Mongolians and the Kazakhs and the Uzbeks, all of them, why they're dominating in so many grappling styles
because the culture's different.
Dude, that's all they believe is like, when you're born, you better wrestle or we beating the ass. You know, like, we don't want you to do nothing else but wrestle. Any culture, if you do that, if you take the kids and do that to them, over generations, they're gonna be monsters. You know, it's like anyone could be like that. And China just kind of stepped back away from that a little bit, and they're starting to push again. But it doesn't have to be Chinese people. I think people keep forgetting that. You don't have to be Chinese to be good at Chinese martial arts. If that was the case, then
Brazilian people wouldn't be good at Japanese jiu-jitsu and whatever, right?
So people get it twisted, and they always get it confused that the Chinese or the Mongol, whatever, they gotta be the best. No, anyone can be the best. You put the work in, you put the right work in, and that can happen. So I used to fight so much about being a kung fu man and representing that, but it's like also I represent me, and I represent multiracial, people, black people. I represent anyone that wants to put some hard ass motherfucking work in and do something dope with themselves. Doesn't matter the style. I love Shuai Jiao, but I don't care what you do. You do monkey fist. Go and monkey fist someone into the UFC. You can do it if you want to do it.
If you wanted to, right? If you put your mind and dedication to it. So, your training methods.
Yeah.
Your training methods. Because you used to be pretty skinny guy. How did you go from...
Whoa, skinny, I hate that word. No. So, no.
Yeah, you were less muscular.
No. I was like a little shredded, but I was skinny. Skinny, but naturally, my genetics, like I was just super lean. I mean, I could eat a million things and lose weight.
Right.
Cookie every day, 12 cookies every day, and I'm losing 5 pounds.
Yeah, maybe you can share with your fans what is like your routine that you do.
So that's the thing. I think... It's hard. Okay, let me say it like this. Routine is good for some people, but I don't necessarily like to have a strict routine, actually. Everyone thinks like people would think I wake up every day, boom, and I get up and I'm doing push-ups right out the bed. I used to do that shit, but no, it's like
Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah, seriously. I used to
Meals on Wheels.
Yeah, I used to live like that. For real, I would get up. I in high school, I remember, matter of fact, my high school, when I went to high school, they came to my house and did like a thing on me how I got up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I used to flip out of bed every morning. I was like mandatory. I had to do this stuff, push-ups, walk on my hands, whatever. But the reality is training should just be part of your life. And if you look at it too strict, you don't want to train that long. You don't want to train that hard, and eventually you get burned out because it becomes a thing where it's programmed and it's not fun anymore. But if it's just part of your everyday, so I train hard. I train every day in some form, but it's not so structured to the point. So I mean, for wrestling it's different because you got training partners. You got to be in a program.
Yeah.
You get up with them. You put in that work. But when it comes to my physical fitness and stuff like that, I kind of just feel my body. I think not enough of us feel our bodies out daily. So we train and we get so much injuries and things happen to us because we're listening to other people too much.
Yeah.
And if you just listen to your own body and really every day, sometimes I go to the gym, I have a plan, but I change it right then.
Yeah.
I know I know I'm gonna squat today, but I just freestyle the rest.
Okay.
I feel my body, and it really helped me develop and develop my skills and stay healthy.
Okay.
So I will say when you're starting out training, it's different. Yeah, you got to go through the grind. You got to go through the stances and holding things and kind of repeating a lot.
Yeah.
You got to develop, get a foundation.
Yeah.
But after that, have fun. Like even for pull-ups, right? Now the big thing with like CrossFit and all these other people. No, and I love CrossFit to be honest. But it's like, strict pull-ups. It's the only way to go. Okay, if that was the case, why the biggest niggas are in prison? Why the biggest dudes with lats the size of your damn body, they in prison right now, and they not doing strict pull-ups all the time, trust me. Not that I ever went to prison, but I know a lot of dudes that are. So, but, for me, like, even when I used to do pull-ups daily, I used to do about 300 every day. And different grips, changing, hopping. I didn't even care what the form really looked like, as long as I wasn't bullshitting myself, as long as I was getting them in and just having fun with it. And it helped me develop little muscles, and it helped me develop in ways that are not natural to most people. You can squat all day. I remember I met a guy that was like, I don't know, squatting 600 something pounds, right? He was
that's crazy. My knees would like explode.
No, he was huge, right? His legs were about that big, right? I was like, all right, I'm about to kick him right in his damn kneecap. So we like wrestled a little bit.
Yeah.
I threw him like a little baby.
Yeah.
It was like he couldn't apply it. He wasn't really as strong as he thinks he is because he just does the same movements every day. And it's like there's nothing more to it mentally. You have to stimulate your mind at the same time. I have a drill. A lot of times when I train people, right, I make them do stuff, and randomly I'll make them change something, and they get kind of confused. But that's the real world. Or for instance, something that anyone can take. This is one of my little secrets, right? one of the things I like to do is I'll put like patterns together. For instance, let's say something simple like cartwheel to forward roll to like a hop, some type of hop or squat jump or whatever. But you cannot have any gaps, any space in between each movement. And what that allows you to do is be a little bit more real with yourself. And are you prepared, or are you prepared to move when you're unprepared? See, most people, even fitness guys, even athletes, I see something that I don't really care for. I don't really teach this. Whenever they train, they like prep for each movement. For instance, box jumps. They jump in a box and they get down. It's like they prepare for it. When you really need it, you don't have time to prepare. When a guy's trying to kick you off your damn feet, you better jump. You know. When you walk in the street and you trip, you can't be like, 1 second, let me get ready for this trip. You know, nah, you better roll. You better do something. So it's like I try to teach that to my students, so that way, anytime, anywhere, any place, they're ready for anything, any movement. They can hop, they can flip over you. You know. So I combine all that stuff. So what I say is combine. Make your training fun. Make it part of your life. Make wrestling part of your life, right? So if I'm with Danny right now, right? We're hanging out. We go outside. It shouldn't always have to be where I'm like, hey, you want to go to the gym to wrestle? No, maybe I just bump him outside. I bump him. I hit him with my waist. Bam! Okay, I put my legs between him. He pushes me back. We laugh. We go get something to eat. That's training. That's training in a way that it's not. It's fun. It's playful, but I'm learning how to be sneaky with every part of my body. And you're learning how to be aware and understand sensitivity. And I got this from watching Mongolians, man. When I was in China, they would be fucking wrestling all the time.
Perfect. Get into it right now. Tell me about your experiences, in Mongolia, with Mongolians, that type of thing.
Yeah, so...
Is wild.
So, Mongolians, man, they're some of my favorite people. Honestly, I'm gonna go to Mongolia. I'm gonna live in Mongolia one day soon, maybe. So
maybe you can share us real quick, like maybe one story. Just keep it to one.
Yeah, so
because it'd be too long.
Yeah, I got a lot. So I mean, I don't even know where to begin. Really, they're just the most kind people I've ever met, man, and they're so in tune with just themselves, and wrestling is their life, and it shows in every movement they do, But when I was in China, the first time I met most of my Mongolian friends, and it was just funny because they like to touch you.
Yeah.
And they ain't never seen black man before. I consider myself multiracial because I'm half black and German, but they ain't never seen a nigga. So I was there, and they were like just touching me, and I was like, what the hell? Yeah. My teacher's like, it's okay. It's just what they do, right? Yeah. So then one of them was like rubbing all over me, and he starts rubbing my butt and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm looking, I'm like, all right, he's kind of big though. I was like, I don't want him to snatch me. So I'm chilling. So he leaves, he's like smiling, and I'm like, okay, cool. So he leaves, right? So I'm like, oh, that was a little weird, but okay, whatever. 6 of them, like zombies, like 6'3".
Yeah.
And they're all just rubbing me literally everywhere, and I'm just like, what in the hell? But once they feel you, I realized they wanted to feel my muscle.
Right.
They were like body, like they wanted to feel where you're strong at.
Yeah.
That's one of their secrets, to be honest. And then all of a sudden he grabbed me, and tried to pick me up, and I was like, hold up. And from that, because of that little thing, we became friends. Yeah. And then, I got mad stories about them getting drunk, but let me tell you something. They can drink. They drink a lot. Yeah. And they will literally drink till 5 a.m. and then wrestle in a competition 3 hours later and beat you. They will smoke cigarettes in between rounds and then go out and still beat you, man. These guys are nuts. But you know why they can do that? I was questioning, always like, how are they doing this? How are these big monsters doing this, man? Like, it's like us, like in America, everything's like health.
Yeah.
Especially as an athlete. But I realized the edge is it's part of the life. It's just a culture.
Yeah.
And if we apply it to our life, not saying smoke and drink, like that shit's not dope anyway, but if we apply it to our mind and our culture, not meaning, but meaning your individual, self, we're going to be incredible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because that's the only thing you do.
Yes.
And that's what you do is what you say.
You don't have to really rub me and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to, I don't care. as long as you don't kiss me. But one of them tried to kiss me though. Real
Yeah,
talk.
yeah.
He walked in the room and he kissed me. I turned my head.
Yeah.
And he hit. I was like, oh no! I fell back and I told my Canadian friends, like the Shuai Jiao team, I'm like, get this dude.
Yeah.
He was too big.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't want him to fold me up.
Yeah.
I was praying to Buddha, every god I can think of. Save me. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know the Mongolians, the alcohol that they drink is like not the kind of alcohol that we would want to drink. Like the stuff that they drink is like something like 60% alcohol.
Yeah.
The reason why they drink like something with that high alcohol content is because where they live in the plains there, it gets super cold when it's winter. And they drink that shit to warm themselves up because it makes them hot and everything. But it's like ridiculous because when I was in China, you know, I was looking for like some, you know, gifts or souvenirs or something. And I just picked this up. And I was like, oh, this is a cool looking like bottle, or like it's shaped like a sword or a saber or whatever. And then I look at the bottom, it's like 40 or like 60% alcohol. I'm like, no way, like. I'm not gonna drink this. I just put it down.
They get kind of crazy. I have my Mongolian wrestling coach Ganyam. He's amazing. Check him out on Instagram. His name is Ganyam.
Yeah.
He invited me over for Mongolian New Year's, and we had Mongolian vodka. I don't really know what that means. All I know is it was lit, and I was trying to keep up with a 250, 60-pound Mongolian man with about 13 or 15 shots of it. And then by the end of the night, I didn't know where I was at. But it was fun. You know, it's like when you're around those kind of people in that culture, like it's just a beautiful thing, man. It's really hard to explain, but it's heaven to me. It's heaven being around people that care about what I care about, and like they just love it, and everything is like happy. Like I've never met people that were so beast. But like if you wrestle with them and you throw them, they don't like get mad. There's no ego really. It's like, I mean, they're gonna try to get you, but they laugh, they giggle, like everything's funny. I'm like, what's so funny? Yeah. But it's just part of it, man. It makes me say to myself, you know what? Relax, Lavelle. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
So train seriously, but also allow yourself to enjoy the experience.
Right.
Whether you're throwing or getting thrown.
Right. So two more things. We got two more things. What are your immediate future plans? What are you working on?
Oy.
What are your, you know what I mean? Like what's your goals? What's your plans? And then last thing would be, what can people expect tomorrow at one half of the seminar tomorrow? What can they expect?
So I get my future plans. Really, I have so many.
Whatever you're willing to reveal.
I'll reveal a little bit because there's some big things, and you guys just gotta wait and see because it's gonna be so dope. But let me say it like this: I am a big dreamer. Since I was a kid, I daydream 24/7. Like that's all I do. But because of that, I've always been able to like see a future that was greater than most people really see themselves in. And my girlfriend, more than that now. She is a doer. So we make things happen, which is a great team. So right now with 2018 together, we're planning on doing so much with martial arts. We're gonna go to China next month. In a couple weeks actually. We're gonna train in Inner Mongolia. I'm going to compete in Kyrgyzstan at the World Nomad Games. I'm probably going to compete in Kazakhstan for the Kazakh World Championship. I'm going to, if they have another World Championships for Shuai Jiao in China, I think in October, I'm going to compete in that. So the fall is going to be crazy. The summer is going to be crazy. I have seminars coming up. I'll be posting those.
Get on it.
Yeah, there's going to be some potential, a lot of good seminars popping up, and I'm going to show some amazing stuff. And I keep them all dynamic and diverse, so you never I don't like to, give too much of the same information. I get bored easily. We as a society get bored, and there's so much knowledge to get out. So that goes with tomorrow. I'll be showing a couple gi or jacket and no gi throws, but also concepts. Concepts that you can apply to anywhere, anytime, to anything that you do, because you know, you go to seminars and everyone kind of teaches this, like technique. But the reality is, if I have, let's say 20 people, right? Let's say you have 20 people you're training. And 20 people, they all have different bodies and different minds. So maybe those techniques only work for 2. Mentally, right now in this stage in their life.
Mm-hmm.
But if I give them concepts that they can apply to numerous things that they already know and that I'm showing them, it might change their whole game like this.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe literally 5 minutes, maybe the next day they go and they beat people they never beat before.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So I'm going to show concepts, I'm going to show methods of training, and then I'm going to show some pretty dope, you know, techniques.
Okay, awesome, man. Okay, so we got a limited time this time. Next time, we're going to expand that and do more, right? Appreciate your time, as always, of course. Lavelle, Shaolin, Marshall. He's right here in Toronto doing the Dynasty seminar in Toronto, happening tomorrow at 2 p.m. And, of course, if you want to support the man, get your gear and your Shuai Jiao jackets and everything, clothes, tees, anything like that, www.dynastyclothingstore.com. Also follow us at Dynasty MMA. Use the code Shaolin. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, brother.
Thank you so much.
You.
All right. Well, end it off. Boop.